All right, well, I'm back again with episode number 4. I got my guy, Mr. Andrew Miller, here today. The man, the myth, the legend. One of my best friends, so I'm excited to have him on and let you guys learn a little bit about you. So welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. It's gonna be fun. It's
Yeah.
gonna be fun because, we talk a lot, just kind of by ourselves, but it'd be cool to kind of have it on recording and.
Yeah, we do mini podcast sessions all the time, just with no structure and no mic or camera. So
Exactly.
sick. Well, I'm gonna dive into it. Mr. Miller is a real estate investor, moderate stock market investor, I guess you could say, mediocre golfer,
Oh, geez.
and one of the most well-rounded humans I've probably ever met. So to kick everything off, I just wanted to start and ask you a little bit about tell your story essentially. Who is Andrew Miller? What's he done? Where's he came from? What's the catch?
Yeah. So I'm 21. Just turned 21. I guess we're both from Oklahoma.
Originally,
And you moved to New Mexico, so we're kind of like that way, but just grew up playing sports and kind of following after all my family's endeavors. Like, that's the reason I kind of fell in love with basketball and sports, is just because my brothers did.
Yeah.
Right? Now we're not in college anymore. We were going to college. Now we're selling pest control, and we'll probably get more into it, but so far that's been the best decision I've made in my life.
That's sick. I could probably say the same. So, young Miller, you just strictly sports growing up, nothing else. Good kid in school. What's
Yeah.
the whole nine?
Good in school is always it's different with every person you ask,
Yeah.
right? Because for me, honestly, in my family, I was kind of like the bottom tier. Like, I wasn't, like a lot of people consider me smart, but in my family, I'm kind of the dumb one, right? But I still had a 4.0 GPA all through high school. Graduated in white, whatever, was in AP classes, but I was kind of not necessarily the runt, but just kind of like, honestly, if you think about it, that's
Yeah.
kind of, I'm pretty good at everything, but at the same time, I'm kind of
Yeah.
like below average in my family.
Yeah, that's funny. Because from my perspective or point of view of being your friend throughout high school, I'm like, I think by the end of it, I cleaned it up like my junior and senior year, like 3 point something GPA. But before that, it was like 2 point something my entire high
Just getting
school.
by.
And looking at you, I'm like, dude, that guy is just like crushing it in school, right?
Yeah.
And it's kind of funny. It's all relative, right?
Mhm.
Like whatever you deem as good. So
Yeah.
you weren't the best in school.
I wasn't the best. I went to class and I turned in my work. I didn't study. I, failed honestly a lot of tests, but I did my work and that's all you have to do in high school.
That's all you
is
got to do, man.
Turn in the work and you'll get a good grade
Yeah,
on it. So
absolutely. Well, sick. We'll jump into it. Why did you think, this is kind of funny that you led this direction. My next question is, why did you think college was your path? What made you, because you were dead set on it, and it's actually crazy that you brought up that you dropped out of college already, but you were the last person in the world that I thought would drop out of college. Like, kind of going back to me looking at you in school, I'm like, yeah, he's doing good in school, he's going to college, he's finishing college, he's getting a master's degree, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
What made you think that, or what gave you that vision or idea? Like, why college?
that's just kind of what we grow up thinking. Like, there's not really another option, especially in kind of, honestly, middle-class families. Most of the time it's, if you don't go to college, you kind of have failed. You didn't do well in school or you didn't get a further education, because it's hard to see, there's not a lot of jobs where, you can be middle class without a college degree, right? It's either kind of like lower middle class or like rich.
Yeah.
And the middle class a lot of times doesn't have the vision to be rich, right? So for me, just following in the brothers' footsteps, right? We all went to UNM, and it's kind of cool, like, from my perspective, is I didn't really want to go to college necessarily. Like, I didn't know what I wanted to go for. I didn't really, have I want to be a doctor. I didn't want to be a doctor or a physicist or a dentist or whatever it is, a veterinarian. So I just kind of decided, what do I like? And I've always liked sports. I've always wanted to kind of be a coach. So I went for exercise science, which is one of my passions.
Sick. Well, next question. Why not college anymore?
Yeah, so we went, kind of taking it back to just understanding money, kind of now. And what I want to do in life is pretty cool. Like, I just want to coach basketball. And so after my first summer, kind of during my first summer selling pest control, I kind of like learned a lot more about money and kind of what, how to make money and how to be successful on the financial side of things. And so I talked to my parents, I talked to a few people, yourself, Mark, a bunch of people who I respected who didn't go to college, right, and are successful. And just decided that I didn't really need a college degree in 10 years to do what I want to do, which is coach, right? Like, there's no requirements. And so if I can, make a lot of money in the next 5 to 10 years and learn a lot, then I'll be set up financially. That way I can just go coach and I won't have to teach or do anything that I don't want to do, basically.
And college was just not the place to make the most money or have the best return on investment, financially speaking?
Exactly. Like, college is good because it's structured for learning, but you have to use it to learn. Like, for me, I was going to class, I was playing video games, I was playing basketball. The classes I liked, like nutrition and weightlifting, I was really focused in. But those kind of topics I'm going to learn about anyway, just from
YouTube.
Being a gym rat. YouTube, like just absorbing content and honestly learning myself in the gym, cooking meals, like learning about it. And so I just decided, like, I don't need that to do what I want to do, basically.
Yeah. YouTube University is where it's at,
Yeah,
man.
it's real.
It's real. Next question. Since you're not choosing college anymore, you've got everything in the world you could do. Why sales?
It's honestly just the people I'm around. Like, the environment and the lifestyle is one that I love. I've looked into other sales, I've looked into other things, but door-to-door sales specifically is incredible because of our environment.
Yeah.
Like, I'm literally hanging out with my best friends every day, whether we're working or we're doing what we want to do. Which can be a number of things, right? Like golfing, pickleball. Like, I'm doing whatever I want in the lifestyle that I want at 21 years old, right?
Yeah.
And that's incredible, kind of understanding that that's possible, right? Because you see so many people who go to work, complain, come home, complain, go to sleep, repeat, right?
Yeah.
And that's something that I've never wanted to do, basically.
That's something that's terrified me my whole life, is just ending up in that like average cycle. Like, I've told a bunch of the guys plenty of times, like, I would just rather not live a life than live a life doing something that I don't believe in or want to do.
Yeah.
And it's kind of funny. I said, why choose sales? But then you took it a level further and said, why choose door-to-door sales? Because you could do any sales job, whether it's, wholesaling, real estate sales, car sales, whatever it is. But there's really not a sales job or vehicle, maybe insurance a little bit, that gives you the community that door-to-door sales does as a guy our age. You know what I mean? Like, it's really hard to find just a group of 20, 25, maybe 30-year-old guys who are just like trying to push for something extra and just put them all together. And I feel like door-to-door has this like super special, unique, like just piece of like that attracted like minds where they just come together and like do something special. So that's cool. I didn't even like expect that question to go that way. I was just saying why sales in general. You know what I mean? But I like the answer for sure. This one's good. This one's probably going to be my favorite answer from you today. You've always been a winner. I've known you for going on like 10 years now, maybe. We met in 6th grade. Most of my life. Pretty much all of my cognitive life that I actually have memory of, right? And you were always the guy in 6th grade. First time I met you, we were playing basketball at the Boys and Girls Club. You were one of the only guys on the team that could do a left-handed layup. 7th grade, 8th grade, 9th grade.
We won the championship.
Yeah, we did.
Year,
Orange Crush.
Just
Orange
so
Crush.
Knows.
Yeah, just let them know. Probably because you could do a left-handed layup. That was the bag. Yeah, that was the bag for sure. But you've always been a winner. It's like that, or in school, or tennis. What were you, second in the state? You might not have won the championship, but comparative to 99% of other tennis players, like, you're a winner.
Yeah.
So and then you come out, try sales with us. You didn't really learn your pitch before you came out. You weren't really like on board all the way, like halfway in, halfway out. And I just remember talking to you, and I'm like, yeah, the job's going to be hard. And you're like, I'll figure it out. I'll do it. Like, you know what I mean? If I say I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. And I was kind of wondering why you've always been a winner. Like, where does that stem from for you? Like, what makes you want to be good at literally everything you do? It's like that competitive edge.
Yeah. And that's honestly not something that I think about a lot because it's just kind of been a part of my life. Like, I don't really think about it. If I had to think where it came from, it was just going back to childhood as growing. So I'm the youngest of four, for people that don't know, 3 older brothers, and the closest gap is 5 years. So growing up, that's a big gap. Like,
at a massive disadvantage.
To be 10 years old and to be playing 2v2 sports with a 15, a 22, and a 24-year-old, right? Like, you're at a disadvantage.
Yeah.
Okay, and so naturally, like, losing over and over and over again, you learn to hate it. And it's you've probably heard the Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant quote. It's like, I don't love winning, I just hate losing. Yeah. Right? And it's the same for me. Is it's not a like love for winning. Like, naturally I think of myself as like, I'm a go-getter. I'm gonna get it done. I'm gonna win. But it's the losing aspect that I've hated for so long in my life and that is also just being bad at things. Like, if I'm bad at something, I will get addicted to it until I'm not bad, because if I'm bad, I see that as a loss. Like, naturally, like one thing that I'm not good at is cornhole. Not good. But the reason is because I don't have a lot of hours played in cornhole. Yeah. I've probably played 10, 15 games in my life. Mm-hmm. And so, honestly, something I should get good at is cornhole. And so I got to start playing cornhole. So maybe we'll see some more cornhole.
Two lessons that I immediately like pull from that and kind of like look back on challenges and places in my life that were like a disadvantage, right? Like we both immediately were like massive disadvantage because you're like 10 years younger like than one of your brothers, two of your brothers. And people would look at that as a massive disadvantage, like, oh, poor kid, like he's getting bullied his whole life. If they throw on the boxing gloves, he's getting slapped up. Like, but in reality, it's an advantage. Yeah. The disadvantage was actually a secret advantage that like has completely leveled you up your entire life. You had no choice but to grow and be uncomfortable because that was the only environment you were in. So that's lesson number 1. But lesson number 2, I was thinking right off the rip whenever you said like, it's not that I love winning, but I hate losing. A lot of people think motivation is like something that they pull from, I want the car, I want the house, I want the big life, I want the this. Motivation is most of the time a dark place. Like motivation, the more I've gotten to like see success and do bigger things and better things, like the less I've started to care about like, oh, I need to accomplish this. It's more of like, I can't lose this. Yeah. I am scared as hell to not do this. If I don't do this, what will I think about myself? You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's like instead of running towards something, a lot of the times you're running away from something. Because, I mean, most people use the ideology of like the donut on the treadmill, right? Yeah. Imagine if you had like a lion behind you. You know what I mean? Imagine how much harder you would run. Yeah. And I love that because it's like I feel like that's where most winners come from or are like made from is like they just have like that fear of loss or fear of like inadequacy, and because of that they winning is a byproduct. You know what I mean? It just kind of comes.
I mean, of course, like you if you're thinking about championships and stuff, you're gonna chase it, but a lot of people it's just a byproduct of, all the hours and time that they've spent doing something.
Exactly. One question I had in terms of your upbringing and your competitive edge, do you think your parents had something to do with it? That I've noticed from the outside in, they have a very unique style of parenting, and like, not saying it's better or worse than any other parenting style, but it's interesting to say the least. Like, our whole life, they've almost had like no guidance from what it seems to me, like hands off, like Miller, make your own decisions. If you mess up, I'll be disappointed. You know what I mean? And it's never like the if you mess up, I'm gonna whoop your ass type of thing, right?
Yeah.
I was wondering when it comes to like the competitive mentality or like your view or perspective of life, like how do you think the way your parents parented you has affected that?
Yeah, it's weird to think about that, right? Especially because like I'm not even grown like yet, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm still living with my
Yeah.
parents. It's kind of weird to think about that, but it's they've had different parenting styles, and you always like. So I'm the youngest by 5 years. My brothers had a way different kind of upbringing
They're
and
soft now or
parenting
what?
style than I did, and so I think just kind of they kind of got lazy a little bit, and it turned out good
Yeah.
just because of the people I put myself around.
Yeah.
And you always, you're the average of the 5 people you hang around. And so growing up, I had good friends. We played video games instead of going out, all that kind of stuff. I could have gone to parties. I went to a couple, but it was never something I wanted to do. And it still, honestly, isn't something that I enjoy doing. And so that's just kind of like they allowed me to make those decisions. And I'm sure, 5 times out of 10 it goes bad, 5 times out of 10 it goes good, right? Because that's just human averages.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
so.
yeah, and parenting is just one of those things you never know if you're doing it right or
Yeah,
wrong, honestly. But
exactly.
it
You just do your best.
seems to have worked out good with you, Mel.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny how you flipped that. The next question, you're like almost as if you've seen all these questions already. The next question is, how do you think team culture or who you surround yourself with, what's the level of importance in terms of that, whether it's family, business, friends, or sports? Like, what is the importance that you would place on culture above skill, above love, above relationship, like whatever it is, culture?
Yeah.
How important is that in your opinion?
It's everything. It's honestly because even if you take it back to family culture, like how does your family do things? That's how you're gonna do things for the most part. In sports, it's everything. You can have. I've been on teams where we had the most skill ever, and we had
Absolutely.
no culture, and we crumbled.
Mhm.
I've been on teams where we probably weren't the best skilled team, and we
Mhm.
probably weren't the most athletic, but we had built a culture and kind of held that together where we just outworked everybody and we were, outperformed everybody. And in sales, kind of learning more into how important culture is. I've kind of like always known just from a competitive aspect. Like if you're competitive and you're around competitive people, everybody's going to get better. But doing sales and leading a sales team with you see it from a whole different level. And it's kind of, I assume, what coaching is like.
Yeah.
And so you see the importance of teams that have a good culture and how successful they are, and teams that crumble because they haven't built a culture.
Absolutely. And a quote that sticks with me about this just popped into my head. I think it was Alex Ramosi said this. He's like, if you build the culture correctly, the culture creates the new people.
Mm-hmm.
If
Yeah.
you build the culture incorrectly, the new people dictate the culture.
Mm-hmm.
And it's mind-boggling to think that if you don't set the right foundation and if you don't have the right culture, the new people that come in, whether you like it or not, whether they're attracted to the old culture or not, now control and dictate the circumstances of the culture. And I think that's where a lot of programs like lose everything or crumble because the new people come in and they don't like how something's ran and the culture isn't set in place to where it's like, I don't care if you like how this is ran or not.
Yeah.
And they like switch it around, flip something up. The leader of the team or the organization or whatever now has no pull or no jurisdiction and they're just running wild, and then the team naturally
Crumbles.
Exactly.
And it all comes from the leadership, of course, is the saying,
Yeah.
but it's not true.
That was going to be my next question. How do you think you build culture?
It's hard, and honestly, you have to keep accountability is the biggest thing. We had a basketball coach, Coach Brown, and towards the end of his tenure at Carlsbad, he kind of softened, kind of the same thing as my parents.
Yeah.
And I was like, I've heard stories of you not bringing the balls out. Like we had it hard. Like our practices were hard, and he ran, and it was tough. But I've heard stories from my brothers where it was like a whole nother level. And so I can't remember when I was talking to him. Might have been summer before he left or something. I was like, what happened? And he said, Mil, it's always easy to start strict and to become lenient than it is to start lenient and become strict. Because, and that clicked something in my brain, because it was like, that's so true. Because once you give an inch, people take a mile.
Yeah.
So if you don't give an inch
At all.
for a while, people start to respect and understand, okay, I can't get away with anything. So then it builds that culture. And I think that's, you don't always have to be to the level of Coach Brown, but you do have to hold that standard and hold that accountability with everybody. No matter if you're the best player, the worst player, the best salesman, the best or the worst salesman.
You just dropped golden nuggets right there. That was actually insane. Start strict, and it's easier to become more lenient.
Yeah.
Like that's a concept that like I feel like so many people who are just coming into, maybe it's somebody just bought a business and they're coming into new management or a new coach or like whatever it is, somebody like comes into, or a stepdad, right? Like you can use it in any team or family or group culture. They come in too lenient because they don't want to step on toes and they're scared. And then everybody else steps on their toes and they never get that like respect back. And man, if you didn't hit the nail on the hammer right there with Coach Brown, like nobody was stepping on that guy's toes.
No.
Because you understood there's a certain way to do things. If you walk in the locker room with your shoes on, you got to do push-ups.
Yeah.
And if we walk on a white, piece of carpet that's the shape of our school logo, like you got to do push-ups because we're keeping it clean. We're taking care of our stuff. And those expectations were set very, very through and through. And honestly, I'm glad for that. Like if I didn't, that's the thing too. I feel like to create culture, the leader has to have vision.
Yeah.
Because I had no vision as a high schooler in basketball. I was going and doing all the stupid stuff. And this guy is telling me, you got to wipe your shoes every time before you go into somebody's house. You got to reply to older men with yes, sir. You got to do this. Parent, you got to stop acting like a retard. Like, you know what I mean? But like, seriously, you got to get yourself right.
Yeah.
And I had no vision. I thought he was the idiot back then. You know what I mean? I'm like, I hate you, Coach Brown, sometimes, right?
Yeah.
It's tough love. But looking back on it, like that guy has just tremendously changed my life because the culture created the new people, not the new people letting them create the culture.
Yeah.
So that's big. That was a really solid little one-liner right there. Next one. What sparked your willingness and drive to do more? As of the last couple years, you've went from it's actually hilarious. I used to give you crap like, dude, are you ever gonna get off the video game? You know what I mean? Like you used to play Rocket League for like 8 hours straight.
Yeah, before that it was Fortnite. Before that it was college. Like
yeah. And it's like within the past couple of years, I've seen you go from like just a normal college student with $4,000 in the bank, $8,000 in the bank, maybe
4 or 5,
to somebody that's playing basketball. Like I mean that's still a good thing. That's exercise, but like just a lot of downtime, a lot of wasted time, nothing really like structured or implemented. To like the last couple of years, you've helped me co-lead a $2.3 million sales team in the most intense sales environment that you could possibly have, with arguably the hardest age group of salespeople to manage, which is 18 to 23 on average. Yeah. And it's like seeing you go from that to that, and your bank account go from $4,000 to 20x that, whatever it is like what sparked the switch, like what flipped in you, and like you're trying to sell your PC. You haven't played video games in like years, except for the other night we were in the office
I still got it.
We were in the office the other day. We hop on Fortnite. Both of us haven't played video games in years because we have had that focus.
Yeah.
And it's like what made you go from that to that? Because this is why I want to do the podcast. You being here and you being here right now is a monumental difference. It might only be a difference of $100,000 right now, or 4 investment properties. But give it 5 years, and this is dangerous. You're gonna live the life that you said you didn't want to live. Mm-hmm. You're gonna be the guy that's working at a job that you don't like, not really happy with his life, probably has a subpar marriage because you're not doing the things that you should first. So it's hard to relay and give energy to other people in your family. And it's like, it's so dangerously easy to just get stuck there and go that route versus going this route, finding your path, investing in yourself, investing in knowledge, real estate, assets, like getting all of the ducks in a row, I guess you could say, to live the good life. But it's hard. This side is hard. And I want to know, like, what flipped the switch? What made you completely just full tilt? Like,
Yeah.
I'm curious.
It's these questions are hard because honestly, I don't think about them ever because that's not the type of person. I'm not a big goals. I'm not a big,
You've always been
I'm
a mystery to me.
Yeah, I'm not a big like whiteboard, write my
Yeah.
goals down, chase after them.
All right, technical difficulties there. You were saying you're not a big goals guy, and that's something that's always confused me about you, to be completely honest. But not a big goals guy, not a big affirmations guy.
No, and it's weird. I don't know. Maybe I'm just wired like a little differently. Like not crazy, but I don't have a ton of like huge goals in my life. I'm kind of a do what I want to do kind of person. But it's different because it's not like a do what I want to do as in go do the drugs, go do the parties, go, spend, whatever it is. It's like, no, if I want to go play pickleball for 5 hours, I'm going to go play pickleball for 5 hours. Like, if I want to go play video games, because that's the thing is, I was good at video games, right? Like,
Yeah.
I liked doing that. And nobody can really tell me what to do. And I think that's growing back to my parents is they never really did. And so I do what I want.
You've always lived like this life of like some sort of.
So like technical difficulties again, but we're good. We're back, baby.
We're good for
Even better
for the night right here.
Like I do what I want,
Might need to
basically.
fix the mic too.
I
Put it on both of them. Put it across both strings.
think we're good.
Okay.
Like I do what I want, and it's always been in positive measures, right? Like doing what I want. And the switch, and it hasn't been years. It's been,
A year and
maybe a year,
Yeah.
right? From that switch, and I still like going back into video games. It's dangerous because I'm an addictive person.
Same.
So it's honestly really good that I never chose a life of, partying and stuff because I would be, it would be almost impossible for me to get out of that. Like once I find something I like, I get addicted. And so getting back on the video, it's dangerous, honestly, but it's okay because it's something I like to do, right? And it's not super detrimental in the grand scheme of things. But doing stuff that I love, and it's kind of just looking at what do I want to do for the rest of my life. And I've kind of I came to the realization is I don't want to work for the rest of my life because I don't like working. Like I'm a hard worker in stuff that I want to do. Like, I'll give everything for things that I like and things that I'm passionate about, but I don't work hard. So that's, kind of a misconception is, I'm not a hard worker unless it's something that I'm passionate about and I want to do. And I don't want to work. So I'm kind of taking that sacrifice of, okay, I'm going to work now pretty hard for the next couple of years because I've seen that vision of investing in real estate, kind of, that generational wealth and building it. That way I'll be able to play pickleball, play basketball, coach basketball, do whatever I want, and not have to worry about being a teacher to make money, to make ends meet, to worry about, where my next meal is going to come from or anything like that. And so just kind of understanding that it's what's the saying? It's the short-term sacrifices for the long-term goals.
Yeah,
right?
Just delayed gratification,
Yeah.
essentially. So you think what flipped the switch was seeing the vision? Just,
Yeah.
actually understand. I mean, I feel like that's what's holding people back from being wealthy or creating wealth is the basic understanding of money and how it works. Like, I went my whole entire life up to 18 years not knowing anything about investing, business, you name it.
Mm-hmm.
And, most people go 40, 50, 60 years without knowing anything about it.
Yeah.
And you probably could say the same thing, all the way till you're 20 years old.
Yeah.
You didn't know anything really about money. You knew that your parents bought rental properties, and that was a good idea.
Yeah.
But you didn't know why. You didn't know how to run numbers on them. You didn't know that there's tax benefits that come from it. You didn't know that you could retire in 5 years if you do it right and if you have a good earned income to invest, to give yourself the capital to buy things. And it's most people don't know that. And I think that's probably the one thing that holds people back from going big in life is the general basic understanding. And there's this quote, they muddy the waters, that way you can't see how deep it is. You think it's so deep.
Yeah.
But a really good example is you. We are in St. Louis, Missouri, in our first summer doing door-to-door sales. And we're both doing the math on our checks, you know, and we're like, oh, I'm gonna have 20 grand, I'm gonna have 30 grand, 40, like whatever, you know, however much it was, and you were like, dude, we should buy some rental properties, you know, like we talk about it all the time, you know, and let's do it. So we start looking up houses, and I start running numbers, and you're like, that house would rent for that, this would do that, and I'm like, yeah, you know. I'm going to have my parents go look at them today or tomorrow, and if they say they look good, I'm going to buy it, you know? Yeah. And just like having the general understanding gives you the means to do literally anything, you know what I mean? And most people just think it's so much harder than it is. Like, you know pretty much nothing about real estate investing, but you're like, you know what, I'm going to buy a duplex. Yeah. All of a sudden, you have a duplex that's $20,000 less. You bought it for $20,000 less than what it's actually worth. Yeah. Arguably 25 or 30 now, and it makes you $10K a year, maybe roughly. Mm-hmm. And it's like that's almost $1,000 a month, and you bought it for $7,000, right? Like $7K total cost to own this home, to make you $10,000 a year. Like what? Like do that 4 more times, and now you're making an average salary in the U.S. and you can retire. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's like the quote, they muddy the waters so you can't see how deep it is. Mm-hmm. The water was cleared up. As soon as I show you, like, this would do this would do this, and you're like, dude, that water is only 6 inches deep. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. If I want to wade out there farther, it gets deeper. Yeah. But to start just to get into it, that's nothing. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Nobody really, like, and that's how everything in the world is.
Everything.
Is
health.
Health.
You name it.
It's so easy, but you just have to take that first step, and then you learn along the way. Like after I had run hundreds of properties, numbers and stuff like that, I still didn't really know what I'm doing. And even now, honestly, I'm such a beginner, but I know more than a ton of people because I've done it, because I've had that experience, and so that's the goal. Is I love hanging around you and Mark and other people who actually kind of research and know, because I'm not a big research guy because I'm not super interested in it. Yeah. Like, I understand how good it is and that I'm gonna do it, but I don't read the books. Like, I've never been a big books guy. I'm not a big audio taper. I like podcasts more and more, but even then it's not super appealing to me.
Can't listen to a podcast every day instead of music, right?
Yeah, I can't do that. And so just hanging around you guys levels me up. And so now, just a byproduct of that is I probably am in the top 1% of
knowledge on real estate. Literally.
Right.
And it's kind of like, I made a video one time where it was like, most people think they need to know everything to jump in. Yeah. Like, all you have to do is know enough to be able to jump in. And then you figure everything else out while you're swimming. Like, you see those videos of people throwing babies in the pool. It's a baby, doesn't even know how to, but it floats, right? You just have to know enough. But next question, what does success look like to you? We've talked about this a couple times for sure. Just, talking vision and seeing what, life will turn out to be. But in a more in-depth way, not just in terms of monetary success or economical success, but more like mental success, spiritual success. Like, what does success look like to you, on a deeper level?
Yeah, I mean, just winning. No, I'm kidding. That's part of it for sure. For sure. But going back to, I don't have a ton of goals, and it's not like, oh, I need this to be successful. I'd say the most real thing is having the time and the ability to do what I want to do at any given time, because I'm a very spur of the moment person. Like, I'm never really not down to go on an adventure, to go play pickleball, to go play golf. Even if I'm in bed, I'll go. And we have a thing where we train for marathons together, and we go to the gym together a lot. And we have a thing. It's like, you wouldn't. And it's really funny because it's like, if let's say it's 10 o'clock at night and we're getting ready, we're in bed, and we text each other, we're like, you wouldn't go run 2 miles right now, you wouldn't come to the gym with me right now, and it's like, we would, right? And it's like, that's something that I love,
just having the option to do it,
having the option to do what I want to do, to go play pickleball for 5 hours, to go to the gym for 2 hours, to go to fucking San Catalina Island to run a marathon for 3 days during the middle of the week just because we want to, and
Yeah.
we said we would do it. And so that's what success for me is having the ability to do what I want to do wherever, whenever I want to do it.
Yeah, I think you have like this like inner dialogue of like you just want to be in control, like not in like a negative connotation, but you just want to be in control of your life. And what makes me think of this the most, the best example, it's funny that I think it's funny you didn't bring it up, because this is one of my favorite examples of like buying my time back and having the resources and stuff to just do whatever the hell I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to Utah for no reason. Actually, no, it was a welcome home event. Right after our sales summer gets over, we do a big event as a company. We celebrate our successes and stuff and have some key speakers, but get ready for next summer, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we leave that event, and as we're at the event, one of our friends is like, yo, we should go to Moab and stay there for like 3 or 4 days
Yeah.
and ride dirt bikes. Miller's like, I don't even have a dirt bike. Well, I could just rent one. Money's not a problem. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
who cares? So out of nowhere, we just like spur of the moment go stay 3 or 4 days in Moab, Utah, and rip dirt bikes all day
it was
for
sick.
multiple days.
Yeah.
Through the cool trails, you know, camp, look at the stars, cook bratwurst, like just hang out with the guys. And like, that is what I love to do. There's nothing else in the world more that I love than that.
Yeah.
And I think you're literally the exact same way, except for you love having the option or being in control to do that.
Yeah.
Because like everybody can do it at some point, right? Like maybe not as often as
Plan it
we
or
do. Exactly.
whatever it is.
But you like that spur of the moment almost more than you like even doing it.
Yeah.
Just because you're like proving it to yourself or somebody else where
Yeah.
it's just like doesn't matter to me.
Like
That's
I've always loved the stay ready so you don't got to get ready. And that's almost like what it is. It's like I'm always ready. I'm always ready to go do something. I'm always ready to make just a split decision. And it's funny, that's kind of how I came out to sell with you.
Mhm.
And like it's the same thing for real estate. It was like, oh, you're doing it? Can I come? Like I'm ready. Go.
Yeah.
And then it was like I wasn't really bought in, but it was like I said I was gonna do it, so
Yeah.
I'm gonna do it, right?
Yeah.
And it's crazy how it's all worked out, this far. So it's
Mhm.
pretty cool.
You've always been a really confident guy. Where do you think the confidence comes from?
I think, I don't know if I've heard this saying or if I made it up. I hope I made it up because, it'd be
You can coin
pretty
it,
cool. But it's confidence is doing what you said you were going to do over and over. I think it's probably Alex Hormozy has said it before. But I repetitively back up my talk. Like, I'm not a huge shit talker in sports, but I can talk my stuff, right? And I'm typically known for backing it up every single time. Whether I win or lose, I'm always gonna like give everything, right? Like in sports, whatever it is. And so the competitive nature just comes from the hours that I know I've logged. Like in any sport that I'm gonna talk trash in, I know I have more hours logged, and I know I have more dedication spent. That's why I have that confidence, and that's with anything in life,
Yeah.
basically.
I mean, to echo that with anything in life, like sales for me is that thing where it's like I had never led or trained a salesperson my whole entire life. And I went from that to leading and training 40 plus guys
Yeah.
in 1 year. And there wasn't a moment where I wasn't confident. There was seconds where I was like, maybe I'm not as good as I thought I was. But there was never a moment that was just like, I have absolutely no confidence. And I think that, like you said, came from me talking to 7,000 people almost the summer before, knocking 22,000 doors the summer before. And like, confidence doesn't come from the act of success or the result or the outcome, kind of how you were saying. Like,
Yeah.
it comes from doing the things you know should bring you the success
Yeah.
or the outcome. And that's something that I wanted to ask you, because like how you're saying, I think is really inspiring. Like where you're like, I don't really have big goals. Like I've never. I remember there's this thing. I don't know if anybody has like for sure they've heard of it, but it's like, what's your why? Like why do you do things? And me and Miller were having a conversation one time. I'm like, what's your why, Miller? He's crushing it. He's on track to make 6 figures, and you just don't normally get to that point on accident. Like it doesn't happen. what's your why, man? Why do you do this? And he's like, well, man, it's interesting. Like, I don't really have anything. He's like, I've had a decent childhood upbringing. My parents don't need any help financially. Like, he's like, I'm just doing this. And a lot of people think you need some sort of like special purpose or special motivation or special something. And it's like, just do what you said you were going to do because you were going to do it.
Yeah.
And then once you do it, you'll feel better because of it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like a lot of the depression or the anxiety or like the feeling of lostness or no hope just comes from you not doing what you know you should be doing. And I feel like Miller's a perfect example of just always doing what you know you should be doing, regardless of bullshit motivation.
Yeah.
Having a reason why. And I'm a big believer in having your why. Like I think it pushes me a lot more.
I think so too for a lot of people, but it's just for me. I just have I don't have like it's not there.
I think a lot of people need to hear that.
Yeah.
Because you can be successful by all metrics. You're a 1% earner in our age group. You probably have a higher net worth than me. I'm not sure. You own what, like a quarter or a fifth of $1 million Airbnb property in Tucson, Arizona. You own another piece of a single family rental in Blackfoot, Idaho.
Yep.
You own 2 units personally yourself. You guys sold the other one that
We sold, yeah.
You sold the other one, and you're about to go under. We're under contract right now on another property for you. It's looking pretty good. We should get it. So what's that, like 5 total units, including partnerships?
Yeah.
It's like 5 units of rental real estate at 21 years old. You turned 21 a week ago, pretty much 20. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, by every single metric I know, most people our age are in 20, 30 grand worth of debt. They have like $500 in their bank account that they'll probably spend on alcohol next weekend.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And it's like, you don't have any extra motive comparative to those people. Mm-hmm. You just do. Like me personally, I can understand if there's a difference because I'm like, I have like this vision that I feel like I'm locked in on, and I have the reason why I want to do things. I have the chips on my shoulder, right?
Yeah.
Like I got the little angel and the demon talking to me all the time.
Yeah.
But from your case, it's just like you could so easily be one of those people, right? And I think those people need to hear that you don't need the extra stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it is what it is. Just wake up and go do it.
Mm-hmm.
Like because you know it's what you should do. And
Yeah.
because you know it's what's going to give you the life that you want. Like nothing else will.
Yeah.
Sitting there feeling sad, anxious, lonely won't do that.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But last question. Why choose, well, maybe I'll take this in a couple different ways, but why choose real estate investing over anything else, whether it could be crypto? I know you even have a little bit of Bitcoin.
I got a little bit.
Overlooked that statistic. You have a little bit of Bitcoin.
Got some Bitcoin.
You have stocks, Roth IRA. I don't know. Do you have an individual like taxable brokerage account, just like a normal stock? No. So
We got the
Roth IRA, retirement account, essentially. Bitcoin, real estate, and I mean, you've even looked into doing like ambassador programs, business, obviously. Like, why real estate? Why take all of your money that you make from door-to-door sales, etc., whatever it is, and instead of putting it back into door-to-door sales or Bitcoin or stocks, like why choose real estate?
It just comes down to the people you trust. Like for me, I'm not a big researcher. Like I don't research. I don't read the books because I'm not super interested in investing. And so it's any of it. And I never have been. Like I've never been like, I need to make $100 million. Like I've never been, I was going to be a teacher and a basketball coach that was my goal, honestly. And so I'm new to this and I'm getting more interested. Like I'm learning about shoes. I'm learning about cars, right? And it's funny because like 2 years ago, I couldn't tell you the difference between a Challenger or a Charger, right?
Or a Camaro.
Like I didn't know anything.
That's probably 6 months ago.
All right, come on. Probably a year ago. And, just the people you trust and the people you hang around, like naturally they're going to level you up. And so you are you've done all the research. You've kind of said, hey, this is the best, and talking, hours and hours and hours. Our boss, our best friend, Mark, owns 3.5 million. His boss, people who have done it, owns 10 million, right? And so just seeing that, like, it's so easy to follow steps. Like, you don't have to create a whole new path. You just got to follow the path that others have created before you, right? And so my parents have, unknowingly also created a path for me in real estate. So it's just kind of like I'm just gonna follow the path, and I know it's gonna make me successful.
That's something I talk about all the time with our sales reps. Like, success leaves clues, man.
Yeah.
Like, just watch successful people and do exactly what successful people do, and you'll be successful. Like, that simple.
It's
and
so
that
easy. If you take a step back, it's so easy to do.
Easy in concept, hard in execution.
True.
That's what I always like to say. Like, once you muddy the water, once it gets clear, it's easy to step into the water.
Yeah.
But maybe it's cold outside, so it's actually hard in your mind because you're like, oh, that water's cold, right? But last question. I'll wrap it up. Whenever it's all said and done, Andrew Miller is lived till 150 years old due to modern medicine and his capabilities in health science.
What is the
chip,
the
Neuralink?
Yeah.
Oh. Due to your massive mid-cingulate cortex.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
That you've developed over time by
doing what I want.
By doing, it's things that you don't want to do. It's tough things, going to the gym, running marathons and stuff.
Ice bath.
Yeah, due to your will to live that is actually developed from you doing hard things in your life. I'm not a scientist, but I've heard it from a scientist. You've lived a long time.
Yeah.
You've done a lot of things in life. You've impacted people, hopefully, changed people's lives for the better. I'm guessing that's why you want to coach, right?
Yeah.
Because you've had similar experiences with your coaches, but
bad coaches, good coaches.
Exactly, and the way that they can lead you to or away where you're trying to go, or where you don't even know you should go, but you need to go, right? But all said and done, you've finished it all. What do you want people to say about Miller, and what do you want people to know about you from you? What's your message to the world, and what do you hope people say?
Honestly, I have read a few books. And one of my favorite books is The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. And that's kind of what I want to be at. I want to not care what people think about what I did. Obviously there's a level of human nature who cares about your other people and how they view you. But I want to have lived a life of doing what I want and not caring what people thought. Like, my parents were super supportive, but a big part of dropping out of college was just not caring what others thought, right? Like, and we're kind of facing this same thing in our hometown of kind of an unspoken, but sometimes a spoken resentment of what we're trying to do. And the more we can, just not care at all and just do what we want to do, because we know that's
the right way. And the resentment could come from a lack of understanding.
Yeah.
Like, if people understood, you know what I mean, like what life could be if you only worked 6 months out of the year, you made multiple six figures, you hang around people that are drastically positive in certain manners. Like, I feel like a lot of that resentment wouldn't be there. But I like that, just not caring.
There's I love the show Ted Lasso. It's super good. A lot of my trainings over the summer have come from that TV show.
I've never watched, like, since I've been on this path of entrepreneurship, I completely have disregarded TV and Netflix completely. Like, my TV hasn't been turned on in 2.5 years, probably 3 years, probably more actually. Now that I think about it. When Ted Lasso dropped, I watched the entire thing, start to finish.
You have to. And there's one thing he says. It's crazy good. It's kind of like corny a little bit, his persona. But if you take a step back and you just think about all of the little lessons that he's doing as a coach, it's incredible. If you can
interpret it correctly.
Yeah, and honestly use them.
Yeah.
And one thing he says is, he heard a saying or whatever it is. It's be curious, not judgmental.
Yeah.
And it's when he's throwing darts and he beats the dude at darts. If you've seen it, but it's crazy. If you can be curious, that's what I was. And that's what I've always been, is curious. Like, I'm very open-minded. I'll never shut something down necessarily. And I try not to be judgmental at all. Like, at all. I just try to understand. So if you can be curious, not judgmental, I think that'll take you really far in life.
Sick. And then what is well, I guess you answered both sides of the question.
Mm-hmm.
You would let people know, I don't really care what you thought of me. I live my life the right way.
Yeah.
In my
And
eyes.
what I wanted. Yeah.
And another kind of caveat to that though, I feel like you're really good at being curious, not judgmental. You don't care what people think, and you don't care like if somebody doesn't approve of the way you live your life.
Mm-hmm.
But you're always willing to hear their side of how they live their life. And if you think it's correct, implement it into your life.
Yeah.
And that's something I feel like there's so many people that just aren't willing to do nowadays. Like, I think of politics. I think of, transgender, this, that, red hair, whatever it is, soft mind, fat shaming, whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think of all those things. And I think of every single conversation I've ever seen or debate about those things. And it's just straight like this.
Yeah.
It's never open on one side, let me hear what you're saying. Open on the other side, let me see what you're saying. And no progress ever gets made because of that. And I guess that's a good point to wrap it up on and stop. But I appreciate you.
Yeah.
And I definitely feel like there's some golden nuggets people would benefit from in this one.
I hope so.
It's going to be really cool to look back on this. I said it in the first podcast we did, like 10 years from now, 15 years from now, this guy's going to be a multimillionaire, and he's going to be a basketball coach.
Yeah.
Like, it's that simple.
That's the goal.
And everything that we don't care what people think is going to be disproved, and eventually, I guess you could say, flipped in terms of the perspective which they view it.
Yeah.
They might not think we're doing things right now, but I guarantee you 5, 10, 15 years down the road, they'll look back, and if they have the disposition, the ability to admit that they were wrong, they will say those kids were right. I thought they were stupid, but look at them now.
Yeah.
And I'm excited for that. So
Yeah,
love
it's
you, dude.
exciting. Love you too. I will own an Aston Martin as well.
That's
a little goal. That's a little goal.
Before you die.
In 2 years,
There we go.
as a basketball coach, multimillionaire, whatever, I'll be driving around whipping an Aston.